Well, meanwhile, last-minute tax filers are rushing to get through all these forms before Tuesday's deadline. But imagine filling out your taxes on just one postcard. Republicans already released this simpler tax postcard last year. Everything is laid out there on page one. Joining me now is Forbes Media Chairman Steve Forbes, Barron Senior Editor Jack Hough, and former investment banker and entrepreneur Carol Roth. Good to see you all. So, Steve, don't Americans want something like this?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine cutting out all those billions of hours a year, 6 billion hours. And that thing is a good way to get to a flat tax. But simplicity is good. Washington hates simplicity, by the way, David, because that means they lose a huge source of power.
Well, it does, but, Jack, Americans pay the bills. So who cares what happens inside the Beltway? Americans want something simple like this. Don't they deserve it?
They definitely deserve it. You know, David, this might sound crazy, but I don't mind the tax system that we have, the actual couple of pages of the code that deal with the collection of revenue. You know, a few brackets, a little more from high-income people, a little less from low-income people. You know, the problem is the code is so big because it deals with spending programs, hidden spending programs. By the way, I like your postcard. It's a good start. 6 of those lines are spending programs. I'd reduce it by 6 lines. You'd have an even better postcard.
You'd reduce it. By the way, Carol, the name of this program that was laid out about a year ago by the GOP was A Better Way. And in that, among other things, they cut our 7 tax brackets down to 3. I mean, the whole thing is about simplifying our 70,000 or whatever page tax code. Aren't we ready for it? Why don't they implement this?
I have absolutely no idea. I think it's time for the Republicans who are in Congress to put their big boy pants on and to go do this. Not only do individuals want this, but think about all of the small businesses out there who are spending their time doing administrative tasks instead of growing their business. We have 28 million small business owners who should be focused on revenue-producing activity, and if they grow, we get more tax revenue. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, and instead, Steve, they're focused on their tax bills and the various, particularly if you're a small business guy, can't afford a million tax accounts like the big companies do. You mentioned it takes 6 billion man-hours a year for Americans to do their taxes. It only took 22 million hours to build the tallest building in the world. So, I mean, imagine how much we could get done productively if we just diminish that 6 billion hour figure down to where it should be.
Yeah, we spend $200 to $400 billion a year complying with the tax code. So you go back just 20 years, take those tens of billions of hours, trillions of dollars, all for this stupid tax code. Imagine if that went to new products, new services, new cures for diseases, new medical devices, how much better off we'd be. What the economists call, David, the opportunity cost is enormous. That's the real scandal. It's a moral scandal.
And by the way, Jack, we talk about lowering individual taxes. There is also talk about lowering corporate taxes. This idea was on the mind of the IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde today. Here's what she told Liz Clayman a few moments ago about cutting corporate taxes. This is a Fox Business exclusive. Take a listen.
But a simplification, certainly a lower corporate rate relative to other countries, provided that it's accompanied with simplification by elimination of some of the loopholes, some of the exemptions that are making it far more complicated and difficult to manage. So would be desirable.
So, Jack, lowering the tax rates for corporations and getting rid of the deductions would actually make corporations, or a lot of them anyway, pay more into the tax system because some of them are getting away with not paying anything.
We at Barron's Magazine think you can lower the corporate tax rate to 22% and have a program that pays for itself, because the extra profits for companies, they flow through to people in the form of wages and profits. Now, if you want to go down to 20%, fine, close enough. But corporate taxes are one of the easiest things on there. It's so much easier to have it pay for itself. When it comes to individual tax cuts, it depends where the money ultimately flows to, but corporate tax cuts are much easier.
And dare I say, Carol, this is something that even some Democrats could come on board for, because they have spoken about lowering the corporate rate.
Absolutely. I mean, for America, who's supposed to be the home of free markets and capitalism, to have the second highest corporate tax rate in the entire world and to not be competitive absolutely makes no sense. And this is exactly why Congress should be prioritizing tax reform alongside health care reform. The other thing, though, I will say, David, back to the small businesses, which you know that that's my passion, is that we have to be thinking about the individual rates for them as well.
Right.
Because most small businesses in this country are taxed at a personal rate.
They're subchapter S corporations. They have to pay personal rates, so it's individual for them. But, Steve, I'm wondering if the IMF is finally getting a little education. After all these years, they finally mentioned tax simplification, lowering tax rates.
Yeah, this is a revolution. The IMF, whenever it's gone into a country, has made that country worse by advocating devaluations of currencies, higher taxes and the like. So it's like doctors in the days of old where they bled the patient and killed the patient. So it's nice now to see that they might be, say, at least only 100 years behind the times in modern medicine. Good progress.
So if even the IMF gets it, maybe the folks inside the Beltway will. Let's hope and pray. Thanks to all of you for joining us. And don't forget, you can catch Steve Forbes and me every weekend for Forbes on Fox. That's Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox News, and Sundays at 7 a.m. Eastern right here on Fox Business.
Darn fine show.
Thank you very much.